Imagine stepping into a space designed for one thing: focus. A 5x5x5 cube. That's it. That is my office. It's a space so small, it forces me to focus. Now that might sound intense, right? But here's the thing. It's a game changer and it works. For me at least. You are 15% less productive if you work in an open office or shared space because of all the noise and interruptions. You're 20% more likely to make mistakes when you're surrounded by distractions. Now that's not just annoying, but it's costing you time, energy, and results. Now, speaking of distractions, you can spend up to 2 hours a day on average on non-work related websites, social media, and YouTube. So that is why I built this tiny office. Everything is within arm's reach. Every inch is intentional. My desk, right here. My tools, right here. My essentials, yeah, that's right here. The real magic is decluttering. A clean, organized workspace can save you up to 1.5 hours a day by reducing the time spent searching for things. Now that sounds insane, 1.5 hours a day. No more wasting time getting up, walking across the room or your office or your warehouse or your home, losing your train of thought, getting distracted. It's all just here. And when your space is tidy, you're 20% less stressed. The walls of this little cube, it's like a force field blocking all of the chaos of the outside world. It's just me and my work. A tiny office, or tiny space, forces you to prioritize. Every item has to earn its spot. It's not just about organizing, it's about being intentional. This tiny office isn't a limitation, it's my secret weapon for crushing my to-do list, sparking creativity, and getting things done. All right. Where's a good spot? Welcome to the world's tiniest office. Not this one, but the one I built inside this one. For starters, you might be thinking to yourself, why is he sitting on a ladder in the rafters? And I wanted this to illustrate a point that I've always found when it comes to designing a space. I always think the vertical space is never utilized. Now, I've always loved this concept, but it really became vividly clear for me after visiting my friend Jordan Studdard in New York City. See, Jordan works in the same building Casey does, and both of these guys use the same principles. Because in New York, you don't get a lot of space. You really have to make what you do get work for you. Hence, maximizing the use of vertical and overhead space, and Jordan did this better than anybody I've ever seen. Coming back from visiting Jordan and seeing his brilliant use case for taking a small studio and maximizing its potential, its intentionality, its function, I came back and thought to myself, I could do such a better job in here with dialing that in. Thus, we built the bunker and the crow's nest, but I need it to work so that I can work under it and work above it within the space I have now. Now, the reason I did a hidden door instead of just making an albeit more functional door, I was a magician for more than half my life, and I think that will never go away, and everyone loves a hidden door. So let me give you a bit of like a tour of all the things that are around me, because I didn't plan for them. It was just as we were building this, I just thought, oh, this would actually work pretty well. And one of my favorite things is all the cables that I have up in the rafters, right down from HDMIs to old LaCie drives to Lightning, I hate that cable. Short cables, these nice braided cables, everything is where I can find it. I started putting other things in the rafters because I can make little shelves out of the top, and everything has its home and is easily accessible. Now, the number one thing I get asked all the time, is how do you fit? I position my head between the studs. It's perfect. Okay, let's talk about my main light source here. That is with this Amaran light panel. It's very thin. I've got it screwed into the back of my cabinet from the other side, and then I've just got the diffusion held up with some thumbtacks, and that gives me a really nice side light. And because I have the main module of this light on the outside of the bunker, I don't get any of the fan noise. It's low profile, there's no stand, there's no cable, and it's a set it and forget it kind of thing. Now, if I need an extra hit of light, I've got a little Aperture MC up here that I can turn on. The only real piece of gear that I keep coiled up on the desk is my microphone. I'm always cold in the studio, so a hoodie is always literally an arm's reach away. Hi. Quick PSA, if you don't have a website, get one. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this episode. If you don't have a website in 2025, you need one now. They've got award-winning templates to choose from to stylize your website to make it suit you. And if you want to dive even deeper than that, a whole plethora, that's right, plethora, of AI tools so that you get the exact custom website that you are looking for. It's never been easier to have your own e-commerce store, sell your own products, both physical and digital, setting up payments, Squarespace payments, all of these things make it super easy. So if you are a photographer and you want to show your clients what you captured on your shoot, you can password protect it, they can have their own hidden galleries, then you can make a shop out of it and sell prints. It's all in one. The all-in-one platform. Squarespace.com/McKinnon. Use McKinnon at checkout for 10% off. I don't need to tell you at this point anything else about Square. You know, you already know, and you know what you should be doing. You just know it. So it's time to execute. Just get it done. Go to the link in the description. Just do it. Do it now. All right. This is the upper deck. This is probably my favorite spot in the entire office. It feels quiet and it feels secluded and it feels even further away from all the noise and distractions. Up here are only analog things. Minus that light. That's a USB battery powered light. I am breaking my own rules. And I put a little Home Depot light up here, just like clamped it, just for a direct overhead. And if I'm filming videos, I'll use a tube light. You can see how there's not a whole lot of room. Miraculously, this crossbar, I fit. I don't know how it makes sense, but I fit. This is kind of like when I'm in an airplane bathroom trying to pee. This is the vent that runs through my entire studio to deliver heat. It feels cool to be up here. It's like the 13-year-old kid that never grew up, that loved the tree fort and the bunk bed and then just decided as an adult, I'm gonna do that in my office because there are no rules. I realized that in building your own custom items, it's exactly tailored to how you need it to work. Obviously, using just raw materials, plywood, ash, white oak for the cubbies, these things are all great because they're easy to customize. If I need to, again, mount anything to any of those surfaces or adjust things in any way, shape, or form, it's very easy to do so. I need to be able to modify things so they work for me. A quote someone gave me once, which I'll never forget, is, "Your stuff works for you. You don't work for your stuff." This is the new fun thing that I've been working on. I find that all things analog, I've really just grown attached to over the past couple of years. Just like committing something to hand and writing an idea down to paper, you get the same kind of tactile feel with typing something to paper using a typewriter. It's real, it puts you in the moment. There's consequence for everything. There's no backspace. You gotta think about this. You gotta be intentional. Doesn't get more satisfying than that. It's the same as shooting film, it's the same as putting on a vinyl. Everything analog, one, is making a comeback, and two, is just so unbelievably satisfying. And this day and age, anything I can do to get away from digital and AI, I'm gonna do. Now, to carry on the theme of analog, I kind of thought that like photo books up here was the best use of this space, just because they're inspiring. I love flipping through them. I'm writing my own right now. I got more inspiration from browsing these types of things than I did Instagram. I'll show you something cool. I made this book for my friend Matt Barnes after he let me come on his shoot where he was shooting a portrait of a clown in the attic of an abandoned home. It was one of my favorite videos of last year. Now I shot a bit of wide lux when I was there, which is the wide angle panoramic film shots, and this book was kind of a collection of my favorites from that day. An honorable mention here is the bookcase that I keep all my photo books on, which gets way too many compliments for what it is, considering I've got some cool furniture and everyone's stoked on this. Get a piece of wood, throw some cinder blocks on each end and one in the middle to support the weight, and you've got like a makeshift bookshelf, but everybody loves it. Everybody comes to the studio and they're like, that is sick. It's not my idea. I've seen it before on the internet. You know, I think when it comes to designing a space and living within a space and having an office space a lot of times, Squarespace, I think you get aesthetic versus functionality. And primarily, I was concerned with aesthetic. I want things to look good. That's the goal. Cool vibe, friends come in, hang out, everyone's impressed, it's rad, it makes me happy, the end. But as you start working within a space, you realize, oh, I need certain things. A bit of that aesthetic gets chipped away to make room for function. Suddenly you realize, oh, I need even more function. Then that balance starts to get fought back and forth. Function becomes its own aesthetic. This bunker, below deck, above deck, it's got a certain aesthetic to it that I really, really like, and that aesthetic comes from its functionality. If I need to take photos of something, I've got more than enough room of empty, movable space where I can still set up these types of shots. It opens up the remainder of my actual studio to act more as a set for these types of situations. When I need to film stuff, if I want to do a podcast, these things are still possible without having to disrupt my actual working environment. The other good part about that is if my workstation's a mess and it's cluttered, I can just close that door. So those two things, which were always fighting each other, finally married and became one. And that's why I think this has just been working so good for me. This office, this bunker, this crow's nest, this is all an amalgamation of my friends that inspire me and my own styles. I've taken bits of things that I've learned from people along the way, along with what works for me, and built this. So what's next? I think I'll continue to make creative spaces. I'll continue to evolve this one. I'll continue to customize it and make it conducive of creating content. Could be another place. I never say no to opportunities, and I always like to keep the door open.